Hi everyone, it's Chenso from Reality Art Pod here to talk about Deal or No Deal Island, Season 2, Episode 12, the season finale titled The Final Deal. Last week on Dondi, after Parvati made a bad deal at Temple, she found herself under the business end of the banker's stiletto, and the final three faced the music when the eliminated players influenced their fate in the daily challenge, eliminating CK and leaving off on a cliffhanger in the winner reveal between David and Letty. Before I dive in, I put a link in the description to my playlist to catch up on the entire season of recaps. If you like what I'm doing, consider liking and subscribing. As always, my videos aren't meant to replace the original material, so if you missed the episode, I highly encourage you to seek it out on Peacock to enjoy and form your own opinion. So let's dive into it. We pick back up where we left off. Letty has $5.5 million total, and David is opening his cases, all coming down to the case that Philip gave him, which contains $2 million, totaling David at $5.7 million and making him the winner of the show. Letty is gracious in her defeat. So we say goodbye to our runner-up, Letty, who from the beginning seemed like she was one of the strongest contenders of the newbies, with confessionals in the premiere that she was going to try to downplay the fact that she's a physical threat. Whatever she was doing was working for her because the other players didn't target her, and she cruised to the point where she won a ton of daily challenges. Though I don't think her physical abilities were really highlighted on the show. Her most memorable moment was her awkwardly trying to seduce Dixon and then cutting him, which made her feel like she's the second coming of the Black Widow, but I don't think she's qualified to wear those shoes and should have left them on the rack. She comes so close to winning the show and should be proud of herself. Like I said, I don't think she lived up to her potential, mostly because I just don't think this was the right show for her to do that, and I think she would be a menace to the girls on the challenge. So we have our winner before the opening credits finish rolling, and the question becomes, how much money will David win? The banker calls Joe and tells him that David's $2 million case will be added to the prize pot, bringing the pot to over $12 million. David gets ready to face the banker as his family members compliment him over a montage of David's greatest hits, and he heads right to Temple, where everyone, even Luke, is there to celebrate. David and Rock are matching in shiny gold trim, and Joe is wearing a very professional blue suit. This turns into a little reunion where Dr. Will says David's alliance reminded him of the Manson family. They applaud David and are all supportive, and we could finally meet the face of Mrs. Banker, who for some reason is Chrissy Teigen. This was a bit random, all to reveal that she used to be a model for the show. Did anyone feel anything watching this? David gets started with a 24 case game of Deal or No Deal, with $12,230,001 being the highest value case, which tickles Luke, as his dollar is back. Kamari and Ben shine in my favorite color, green. David says he's been all about case number 18 for his family, and Chrissy Teigen sits on the sideline, giving smarmy facial reactions and earning her day player rate. David has a lot of little reasons for opening his cases, and has a great first round, knocking down the lowest 3 cases and no high cases. Chrissy taunts David, calling him basically dumb and good for nothing but his looks, as she offers him $230,000, a terrible offer that he doesn't take. David has an okay second round. Chrissy continues her reign of terror by telling David she much prefers Boston Rob, and offers him $499,000. Will tells David not to be bitch made, so David says mama didn't raise no bitch and says no deal. David phones in some help from Dixon, who shouts out his favorite case girls from back in the day, neither of whom are Chrissy, and both of whose cases contain low values. When he then phones Parvati in, Chrissy tells David he doesn't wear the pants in the game, as she offers him $994,000. These offers are so stingy given that 6 of the 11 cases left contained $1 million or more, and David says no deal. The next round is rougher for David, with 2 of 3 picks being high value cases, and Chrissy is getting a little nervous like it's her money. She offers him $1,523,000. This offer has most of the other players, besides Storm, telling him to take the money and run, but David isn't bitch made. It's a no deal for him, dog. He has to open 2 more cases in the next round, and knocks down 2 $1 million cases. Everyone is thrilled that the giant case is still on the board, especially David. Now, Chrissy's trying to flatter David, calling him gorgeous and offering him $1,980,000. If he says no deal, he has to open 2 more cases in the next round. This is where I would take the money. Maybe I'm bitch made, maybe it's Maybelline. David says what's meant for him is meant for him, shockingly saying no deal to this. Dr. Will shouts out that David has the hairiest balls in all of Australia. A crazy thing to say, but I guess high praise from the doctor, and maybe a diagnosis. David has to open 2 more cases, getting a low value case and the last $1 million case, but protecting the big case, it's gotta be the hairy balls. Chrissy offers David $2,900,000. Everyone tries to talk sense into David. I was getting sick watching this because I'm so made of, from, or to be bitch, whatever bitch made means. David is just fine, and I'm throwing myself against the sofa screaming, take the deal, but he doesn't take the deal. He has to open 1 more case, the crowd falls silent, and thunder strikes in the distance, another low case. Chrissy gets on the ground and begs David to take the next offer, telling David she's thinking of David's family and his dad, offering him $3,870,018. Firstly, bringing his kids and dad into it really made it seem like a signal to take this deal, and the $18 offer, referencing his case 18, but David has an issue with case number 24 being unpicked. He doesn't like that case, so he says no deal and gets to the final pick, where he does pick 24. I have more anxiety than Doji watching this, as Ben does the ultimate psych out, revealing the $25 case. This was awesome. Chrissy gives him a gigantic offer, $5,800,000, $75, the most money anyone's ever made on TV, according to Joe. And Joe says if David ends up with $75 in the end, he'll be known as the biggest loser in reality TV history. David does take this deal. I love that for him. He revealed that his case contained the $75 and he made a good deal. How satisfying. And we say goodbye to the banker, Chrissy. I don't really know Chrissy Teigen very well, but she did play the role of the banker well, I guess. She was acting so nasty in the beginning, but in the end, you could tell she's rooting for David and compliments David, saying she's happy for him. And she calls herself the worst banker of all time, which was funny. Finally, we congratulate our winner, David, who came into the season a really random selection, being an international TV pick that most people watching wouldn't know. And most of the cast, except for Parvati, didn't know him either, making him seem like a friendly, faithful newbie. He forms his family alliance with Dixon and Parvati, with Parvati as his island wife. Their friendship was cute, and at times they were really lovey-dovey in a way that made me feel I would be so annoyed watching this had I been his wife, but I would not be annoyed anymore when I saw him win that mulala. And with Dixon, he did so much for that young man. He was a role model and father figure and made a real positive impact on him. He was a team player in challenges, playing pretty selflessly, putting his own game on the line to protect his allies, holding out to ultimately win the final 3 daily challenges, the game, and face off with the banker a second time. Both times he faced the banker, he did really well. He has great reads, not only reading the offers and putting his producer hat on, but he also seemed to see the cases like a game of Minesweeper, assuming that cases next to big cases were safe picks, which was a cool strategy that ultimately was better than picking a case for a random reason like 13 looking like a butt laying sideways. So he wins this huge sum of money. I'm glad he took it because that's more money than anyone would know what to do with, and mo money, mo problems and all that. We obviously haven't seen the last of David. He went to film Survivor Australia vs. the World with Parvati right after this. I'm even more interested to see them play there now, with them being extremely loyal to each other, with real love there. I now could see David really going out of his way to help Parvati to win, even over himself, and how they cope with her knowing how much money he's won and probably not being able to bring it up at all. I forgot that he lives in New York, which would explain a jump to American television. With this being a Peacock property, it's likely that he'll be on The Traitors soon as well, which I'm seated for because I find him extremely likable, dynamic, and entertaining. This season was so much better than last season. I didn't even know I was going to cover this until I ran a last minute poll. The poll spoke, and this ended up being a really fun project for me. For next season, I hope to see more reality stars. I wouldn't even mind this being a Traitors type show with more crossover between the two shows, creating a bit of a Peacock verse. Brittany, Danielle, and Carolyn on season 3 would be hilarious. But that's all I have to say about this episode and this season. Let me know in the comments what you thought about David's win and the season as a whole. If you liked the video, consider liking and subscribing. I'm recapping Survivor 48 right now, which has been entertaining. Thank you to everyone old and new who joined me along the way. I really appreciate you all being there and helping build this channel up. Until next time, you know where to find me. Bye.